Hello and welcome back to It's Histocracy with me, Waffy and Paul.
Today we are looking at the strangest Greek myths known to man.
So let's begin.
The first one is of a man called Erez Thorne. He was a very rich man, and because of his arrogance, he cut down a sacred grove of trees to make a new feast hall. This really angered Demeter, the god, so Demeter gave him an unending appetite to punish him. And although this doesn't seem a very bad punishment, he actually ate all his food and was still hungry. He bought all the food he could buy, but he was still hungry. And he ended up having no wealth and no money at all. So then he tried to sell his daughter for food. And then he ended up living in poverty with nothing else left as assets. And so then, unfortunately, he died trying to eat himself, which is probably one of the worst days you could die. Well, at least we now know you should not annoy the gods.
So the next one is the Three Fates, aka the Moray. So there's the first one, Clotho, who was the spinner, and they spun the thread of life from her distaff onto her spindle. Also there's Lachesis, who measured the thread of life allotted to each person with her measuring rod. And then there was Atropos, which means inexorable or inevitable, literally unturning. And she was the cutter of the thread of the life. So she chose the manner of each person's death, and when their time was to come. And she cut the life thread with her abhorred shears. So, they are supposed to appear 3 nights after a child's birth to determine the course of its life, as in the story of Meleager and the firebrand taken from the hearth, and preserved by his mother to extend his life. The Morai assigned to the terrible goddesses Erinyes inflicted punishment for evil deeds, and they directed fate according to necessity. As goddesses of death, they appeared, together with the demons of death, Curies and infernal Erinyes. Most gods, well, all of the gods, were scared of them, including Zeus, and there's still stories about them today. As we see in Europe, people still relate to them as representing evil, hatred, and death. So it's not only Greek, but it's also in modern day.
Next myth is the Labours of Hercules. So one of his labours was to kill the Hydra. So it was one of his 12 tasks set. So he must complete them to become immortal. So what he had to do was he threw flaming spears at the beast, but the Hydra attacked them. So Heracles hit its head with a club, but then they grew more. But then they grew back, sorry, and then Heracles' friend Lolus then leaps to his aid with a flaming torch, and then after an epic battle, the men finally destroyed the Hydra.
Or at least teamwork worked.
Yes.
Anyway, next is the Eleusinian Mysteries. As weird as it sounds, it's actually a very simple story. So Persephone was the daughter of Demeter and Zeus, and she was abducted by Hades for her beauty. And so she was trying to find the most wonderful flower with the ocean nymphs before Hades appeared with his golden chariot, and the earth swallowed her into the underworld with Hades. So Demeter is just like looking for Persephone day and night, every single day, and the earth was starting to wither because Persephone's beauty and Demeter controlled the blossoming of the earth. And so, as Persephone was not there, the earth was withering and all nature was starting to go bad. And the sun actually speaks in the story, he actually feels sorry for the whole story itself, including Persephone. And so the sun tells Demeter the whole story about how Persephone got abducted. So Demeter goes back to Zeus straight away and threatens Zeus that I will make the whole earth wither unless you get Persephone out of the underworld. So Zeus sent Hermes to go to the underworld and talk to Hades. And Hades, meanwhile, forced Persephone to eat 6 pomegranate seeds. So at this time, like if you eat food in the underworld, what that means is that you technically cannot get out of the underworld. So, but then because of Zeus's power and Hermes' power, Persephone was able to get out. But Demeter was furious because Persephone had eaten those 6 pomegranate seeds. So Zeus had to make a compromise. So what he made was that the fact that Persephone had to visit for 1 month to the underworld every 6 months because of the 6 pomegranate seeds. And then she would come back and the earth would blossom for those 6 months. and then she would have to go back again. So the Eleusinian mysteries, you might be wondering, how does this come into all this? Eleusis was actually the place that Demeter was searching for Persephone. And there are secret rites that are now performed in Athens, I believe, in this time every year by all Greeks at Eleusis. So that's how the Eleusinian mysteries were created.
And the final myth is the myth of Bellerophon and Pegasus. So the hero of the story is Bellerophon, and basically he had to kill the fire-breathing Chimera, which was a terrifying beast, which had a serpent as a tail, a goat's body, and a lion's head. And the king commanded him to destroy the beast. So then Pegasus, soaring above the monster on a winged horse, then Bellerophon, soaring above the monster on a winged horse, Pegasus, who he had been able to tame, shot arrows at the beast. But then Bellerophon decided to attach lead to his spear and thrust it into the vicious beast, which was able to work, and was able to kill the fiery Chimera.
Well, at least we've seen that most of these Greek myths are all kind of based on tragedy and violence. But I think we actually now, quite a lot of our nursery rhymes, as we looked at last time, and also quite a lot of our stories now are much based on more happy endings. So I think we've seen how the world has evolved from dark stories to light.
But I could
Yeah.
say that most of these stories, if not all of them, are still quite known today, and including,
Mm,
obviously, Pegasus and also the Three Fates. Like, it's still
yeah.
incorporated in today's lives, and we still like know about it in some traditions.
Yeah. Well, that's it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and hope you will share some of these with others and creep them out too.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.
And we'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.